Let's open the door to darkness with these 10 haunting supernatural horror movies that deserve your attention. From cursed spirits to unholy rituals, these films summon fear from realms unseen. Each one drags you deeper into the unknown, where reality bends, shadows whisper, and something ancient watches from every corner. Number 10, The Pact.
Oh God.
When Annie returns to her childhood home after her mother's death, she expects tension, not terror. But when her sister vanishes overnight and cold spots haunt the air, she realizes something sinister still lives within the walls. As she digs deeper, she uncovers a hidden room, a link to a string of unsolved murders, and a malevolent force connected to her family's past. Directed by Nicholas McCarthy, The Pact merges supernatural horror with crime thriller, unraveling secrets through seances, nightmares, and ghostly encounters that are far more violent than expected. Annie must navigate visions, cryptic clues, and a lurking evil that isn't just a ghost, it's tied to a flesh and blood killer. The tension builds in a home that remembers everything, and letting go of the past might cost more than her sanity. Number 9, The Watched.
I saw myself.
Mina, a young American artist, finds herself stranded deep in an eerie Irish forest after her car breaks down, only to be lured into a mysterious concrete shelter with 3 strangers. At sundown, a chilling truth is revealed. Something inhuman stalks the woods, watching them through a one-way glass wall. Cut off from the outside world, they must follow strict rules, never leave after dark, and never look into the forest too long. As the days unravel, so does Mina's grip on reality, and the forest begins to close in like a living, breathing trap. Directed by Ashana Night Shyamalan, The Watched is a claustrophobic blend of folklore and paranoia, where ancient evils meet modern surveillance. Number 8, Absentia.
They declared Walter dead in 2002. I ran into him just last week.
You see me?
Left behind a son who says his dad was
7 years after her husband vanished without a trace, Trisha is ready to declare him dead in absentia. But her decision awakens something old and unseen. As she prepares to move on, her younger sister Callie arrives to help and becomes fixated on a dark pedestrian tunnel near their home, where flickers of movement and whispers seem to bleed through the walls. When Callie encounters a gaunt figure begging for help, the mystery deepens into something far older than grief. Directed by Mike Flanagan, Absentia is a quiet, creeping tale of loss, guilt, and the unseen forces that lurk just beyond the edge of reason. The terror unfolds in soft steps and shadows, building toward a horror that's never fully revealed, but impossible to ignore. Number 7, Below.
I don't believe we're alone down here.
This boat is cursed.
During World War II, the crew of the USS Tiger Shark rescues 3 survivors from a torpedoed British hospital ship. But once aboard, strange events begin to unfold. The radio malfunctions, crew members vanish, and ghostly whispers echo through the steel corridors of the submarine. Trapped beneath the ocean's surface, the line between psychological tension and the supernatural begins to erode as the past haunts every sonar ping. Directed by David Tohey, Below is a pressure-cooked ghost story set in one of the most claustrophobic locations imaginable. As paranoia spreads through the crew, they must confront not only the enemy above, but the horror they've unknowingly brought below. The submarine becomes a tomb of guilt and secrets, and with every passing hour, the walls seem to breathe. Number 6, You Won't Be Alone. In a secluded 19th century Macedonian mountain village, a mute girl named Navina is thrust from isolation when the ancient witch Maria transforms her into a being of shifting forms. Curled in caves and hidden from the world, Navina's first taste of freedom becomes the first step into an uncanny life of transformation, flesh stepping into animals and peasants alike. As she assumes others' lives, bodies, and burdens, she journeys through the human world with outsider eyes, learning language, longing, power, and loss. Directed by Goran Stilevsky, You Won't Be Alone blends folk horror with a lyrical meditation on identity and sensation. Number 5, Dead End.
Don't worry. She's dead.
On Christmas Eve, the Harrington family is en route to a holiday gathering when Frank, the father, decides to take a shortcut through a desolate forest road. But as night stretches on, the road seems endless, and a creeping sense of wrongness begins to sink in. What should be a quick detour turns into a surreal journey where time feels distorted. The surroundings shift, and the travelers start questioning reality itself. Dead End is a slow-burning psychological horror wrapped in the trappings of a family trip gone horribly off course. The film tightens its grip with eerie encounters, pitch-black humor, and the haunting suggestion that not all roads lead somewhere. What begins as a minor wrong turn transforms into something far more unexplainable, and no one rides this road unchanged. Number 4, Noroi, The Curse. A veteran paranormal researcher named Masafumi Kobayashi receives a final, too disturbing video documentary shortly after his house burns down, and his wife is found dead. Then we watch the investigation played back in real time. What begins as probing mysterious noises and vanished children evolves into a sprawling web of real-life interviews, broken TV shows, eerie recordings, and folklore about an ancient demon named Kagutaba. The film is presented as found footage turned documentary, blending API-style realism with supernatural horror. It explores how curiosity becomes obsession, how disparate clues link into a lethal ritual, and how truth might be far darker than you want it to be. Number 3, Cronos. Jesus Gree, a kind and aging antique dealer, discovers an odd, insect-shaped device hidden within the base of a centuries-old statue. When the mechanism activates, it grants him renewed youth and vitality. But along with it comes a strange thirst and a terrifying change he can't control. As he begins to unravel the origins of the device, a dying millionaire obsessed with immortality sends his violent nephew to retrieve it at any cost. Directed by Guillermo del Toro, Cronos blends gothic horror with quiet melancholy, weaving a tale of obsession, family, and the steep price of eternal life. Unlike traditional vampire stories, this one bleeds with elegance and sorrow, grounded in personal loss and moral conflict. Number 2, 1408.
Get hold of yourself. O'Malley.
Mike Enslin is a jaded author who specializes in debunking haunted locations, until he checks into room 1408 at New York's Dolphin Hotel, a room no one has survived for more than an hour. What begins as another routine investigation quickly turns into a harrowing experience as the room distorts time, memory, and reality itself. Trapped inside 4 walls that twist and shift, Mike must confront a force that knows his past and manipulates his mind with surgical precision. Directed by Mikael Hofstrom, the film is a psychological horror steeped in isolation and grief, turning a single hotel room into a labyrinth of personal torment. The terror doesn't scream. It whispers through flickering lights, impossible reflections, and truths best left buried. Number 1, The Changeling.
Years. Claire.
Following the tragic loss of his wife and daughter, composer John Russell relocates to an isolated, century-old mansion, hoping solitude will help him recover. But the house is far from empty. Strange sounds echo through the halls, objects move on their own, and a hidden attic room conceals a history no one wants to speak of. As John digs deeper, he uncovers clues that link the haunting to a buried past involving a long-forgotten child and a powerful, well-protected secret. Directed by Peter Medak, The Changeling is a masterclass in restrained, atmospheric horror, favoring mood, mystery, and emotional depth over jump scares. The film builds tension with ghostly precision, unraveling a chilling tale of injustice and the relentless voice of a spirit who won't be silenced. Here are 4 other movies you have to see. Exeter.
The power of Christ compels you!
A group of thrill-seeking teenagers throw a wild party inside an abandoned asylum and unwittingly unleash a malevolent force. Trapped in the decaying halls and cut off from help, they must confront the dark past that haunts the walls. Rituals.
She kept the fact she kept secrets a secret.
Something bad is gonna happen to me.
Sinister whispers and paranormal manifestations turn what should have been one reckless night into a fight for survival. Lake Mungo. After the tragic drowning of their teenage daughter, a family begins experiencing strange, unsettling events in their home. Presented in faux documentary style, the film explores grief, secrets, and the supernatural through lingering uncertainty. As the family pieces together what happened, the lines between memory loss and something beyond become disturbingly thin. The Last Winter.
Why wouldn't the wilderness fight us? Like any organism would fend off a virus.
In a remote Arctic oil drilling outpost, a small team is confronted by escalating environmental chaos and eerie occurrences beneath the frozen tundra. Paranoia builds as nature itself seems to rebel, thrusting the crew into a survival scenario where the threat isn't just human. The harsh landscape becomes a character, relentless and unyielding. The First Power.
Around, buddy boy. Immortality.
You don't have any idea of what you'll be facing.
A determined Los Angeles detective teams with a psychic to stop a serial killer who practices dark rituals and seems to transcend death. As their investigation deepens, they confront forces far beyond conventional crime solving and enter a battle where the supernatural collides with the mortal world. Possession, ancient evil, and the quest to end a cycle of horror drive the story.